Trump threw 3 dice and all 3 came up 6s. Well, that's what you call the maximum. Now, first, I'll show you these 3 dice, and second, I'll show you why they landed on 6. And you'll understand why in the game Trump is now playing in the Middle East, his opponents have no good moves. But first, ladies and gentlemen, stop everything you're doing. What I'm about to tell you will turn the whole picture of what's happening in the Middle East upside down. And most importantly, this is happening right now while we're talking. Last night and this morning, 2 pieces of news came in. Separately, they were presented as 2 different events. One is about Iran separately, the other, as they say, cutlets separately, soup separately, Lebanon separately. That's exactly how they want to present them. But if you put them side by side and look at the dates, the consequences, the sequence, who said what to whom and when, it reveals something that changes the understanding, well, at least of everything you've seen over the past 3 months. It's like a treble clef, a little key that opens things up. I'll prove it to you now with facts, step by step, without speculation, that there's a deal going on between Trump and Israel. Let me clarify, this is important. A deal doesn't mean they wrote out every detail. A deal means that the policy, the actions are coordinated, the roles are assigned and distributed, and everyone is playing their part in the same game. And Iran, well, in my opinion, is cornered and can't respond. And you'll soon understand exactly why it can't. If you care about understanding what's really happening in the world, and not just swallowing what you're being fed in pieces, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit the bell. It's very important, because I analyze things like this, well, I would say only here. Give a like right now before we start. It helps the channel and helps other thoughtful people like you find our analysis. Let's go. So first, as I promised, the facts, what has already been confirmed. Then we'll philosophize about it. First fact. Since April 8th, there has been a ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. It's fragile, constantly violated with skirmishes, but it's in effect. And around the main thing, around the Strait of Hormuz, through which, as we know, about 1/5 of all the world's oil passes. Second fact. By the end, my side reached a preliminary agreement. Both sides say it's a preliminary agreement. What the agreement is about, it's unclear. But the extension of the truce for 60 days, yes, that's mentioned. The opening of the Hormuz Strait without duties. Yes, that's mentioned. It's both new and familiar at once. Iran will unblock and clear the mines from the strait, which means it will be able to freely sell oil again. So basically, they're clearing the mines for themselves and for others, if they can, of course. The U.S. lifts the blockade of Iranian ports, and the negotiations on the nuclear program are postponed for those same 60 days. This has been confirmed by several sources, including American officials. Fact number 3, and here is the first tough condition. U.S. Treasury Secretary Besson stated directly, there will be no easing of sanctions. Fact number 3. Fact number 3. A tough condition. Minister Besson stated, now watch closely. The deal, as we are told, is almost ready. They were planning to announce it almost on Sunday, and what happens instead of the announcement? 2 things happen at the same time. First, over the weekend, the U.S. strikes Iranian military targets. They hit radars, command centers, and drones on Qeshm Mosul and in the Garak area. They present this as self-defense in response to the downed American drone. Well, that's right, yes, they shot down one of ours, we destroyed 1,000. That's a normal amount. Wait, the deal is almost ready, and suddenly what? 1,000? At the same time, Trump is toughening his wording. Those very amendments that people say are insignificant. And remember this word, insignificant, will come back to it. And you'll see what it really means. Now here's the second half of the picture, or the dark side of the moon if you prefer, Lebanon. And here's the news that, in fact, is the reason I'm recording this video, because it was shown separately, this news, as if Lebanon is on its own and Iran is on its own. By the way, I don't understand why, as they say, when you're eating a sandwich with sausage, you say it was with cheese. I just don't see the point. Yesterday, the Israeli army captured the Beaufort Fortress, a medieval fortress on, well, it's the commanding height over all of southern Lebanon. For the first time in 26 years, I would put it that way, right? This is Israel's deepest incursion into Lebanon in, Well, a quarter of a century, so to speak. Since the beginning of our millennium, I confirm that. My regiment in 1982 went 90 kilometers deep into Lebanese territory, and after uncovering the guns, we stood near Beirut. So, well, how long has it been already? 44 years ago, we went even deeper. But we have never struck with such precision, so heavily, and on such a massive scale as we do now. Plus, Bibi Netanyahu said that maybe we will go another 30 or 40 kilometers to reach the enemy. 30 or 40 kilometers from the fortress. Well, from where the Israelis are standing now, there are only 150 kilometers left to Tripoli. What is Tripoli? So this is the main Hezbollah base, which is almost on the border with Syria. Everything there is small, both in Israel and in Lebanon. So there's not much left to go. 150 kilometers, Netanyahu gave a personal order. Deeper. That means beyond the Litani River. How far exactly beyond the Litani River? He didn't really specify. An urgent operation is underway, despite the ceasefire that's been in effect since April. Did you notice? And maybe also to finish quickly what, after the ceasefire is signed between the US and Iran, won't be allowed anymore. Namely, the complete destruction of Hezbollah, or at least weakening it to the point where the Lebanese army could finish it off themselves. So it's quite possible that this was the subject of the meeting. First between the military representatives of Israel, America, and Lebanon, and then between Israel's and Lebanon's political leaders. We don't know what they discussed. It could have been anything. But it's quite possible that, judging by the actions of the IDF, it really seems like that's what it was about, and the scale of the operation. Destroyed villages where Hezbollah militants lived, troops redeployed. It all points to one thing. Israel didn't just come for a day. Back in '82, it was just for a day. To smash things up and leave. Israel, well, to smash things up, leave, push them back from the border. There were a lot of objectives, right? But to leave, that was always the plan. Israel wants to finally solve the problem. And in this, it's fully supported by the Lebanese people who are mostly Christians. The world's reaction is immediate. The UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting on Monday, and France and Germany condemn it. Qatar called it, oh my God, a violation of international law. Well, then let's talk. So the most terrible war on the planet right now is happening in Sudan. The total number of deaths is estimated at 150,000 people, so no one is keeping an exact count. France and Germany are not expressing any condemnation. Strange, isn't it? 150,000 people were just killed just now, and they? No condemnation at all, right? For Ukraine, the 25th year has become the deadliest year for civilians. 2,514 residents, not soldiers, civilians, killed. And Besson himself isn't convening any meeting, neither an emergency one nor a scheduled one. That is, he doesn't even plan to. Nobody really cares about that Ukraine thing, right? Eastern Kotka. Africa, which everyone says is struggling to rise, whether it's from its knees or from something else. Since January 2025, more than 7,000 people have been killed in the eastern provinces. These are documented mass executions. 500,000 new refugees since the beginning of the year. How many have been displaced in total? 7 million, right? Qatar does not call this a violation of international law. Because, again, who cares about them, right? In my opinion, Jews really are the most important people on the planet. Whatever they do, it causes the most intense reaction in every country in the world. But when it comes to Black Ukrainians and Sudanese Muslims, Sudanese, not Saudi, Saudi, Sudanese Muslims, no one cares at all. So what connects our previous two news stories into one? The fact that the world doesn't care about anyone except Jews, we've known that for a long time, right? Last week, Trump told Netanyahu that he supports, quoting an Israeli official, Israel's freedom of action against threats on all fronts, including Lebanon. Including Lebanon, the same country Iran loudly defends, insisting nothing should happen there. Heaven forbid their Hezbollah is affected. In so many words, just days before Balfour was captured. Supports it, including Lebanon. Boom. Ah, said Bibi, yes. Here is the point of contact. This is where the two lines meet, the ones they show us as parallel. Stop for a second and think. And what could this mean? The President of the United States gives the green light to expand the war in Lebanon, exactly at the moment when he is negotiating peace with Iran, with the very same Iran for which Hezbollah in Lebanon is, well, not even the right hand. Just the main trump card, the main lever it uses to pressure Israel and the region, and in general its main hand and its leg. And here's where it gets most interesting. Here I move from facts to what I see as political action. I'm telling you honestly, this is my interpretation, but it explains what the facts alone cannot explain. This is a coordinated policy of two actions, a distribution of roles. Trump is bringing Iran to the negotiating table using both the carrot and the stick. The carrot is, of course, opening the strait, selling oil, lifting the blockade, and the stick is strikes on drones, tightening measures, what we call a draft, a rough draft. He keeps Iran on the hook, but right at the negotiating table, right at the table. And while Iran is sitting on this hook, tied up by negotiations, unable to make a move, Israel is methodically taking out Hezbollah in Lebanon. And what is Hezbollah? That's Iran's trump card. They're not just taking them out. They're seizing territory. They're creating a security zone as a fait accompli. They're coming into contact with the Lebanese army, which can't stand Hezbollah. And now let's get back to the term insignificant edits. Remember, I promised you that. Do you see the trick? While everyone is looking at the insignificant edits in the Iran deal, while everyone debates if the deal will be announced Sunday or Wednesday, it will already be in effect. Significant and I really hope irreversible events are happening in Lebanon. The Beaufort fortress has been taken. The villages Hezbollah fortified have been destroyed. When did this happen? If the Iran deal is finally signed, the regional map will already be different. Hezbollah is greatly weakened. Israel is already entrenched, standing on the heights. The Lebanese army is supplied by America, by Israel, by anyone. Words on paper always lose to facts on the ground. And this truth is very well understood by Trump and Netanyahu. So here comes the first guest, the first pawn. Boom. Whatever happens with the Iran deal, Israel has already won on the ground. They've taken it back. They've removed part of the danger. Now, why can't Iran respond? That's the key question. Without answering it, the whole picture kind of falls apart. Otherwise, why is it that Iran, as people write to me in the comments, right? Now they'll just take it, fire back, and everything will be blown to pieces. But Iran is caught in a bind. In a classic bind, there's no good way out of it. This is every player's dream, so to speak, on any field. Watch. Iran is actually desperate for this deal. We've already talked about this a lot. I'll say a couple of things about what I said before so it doesn't seem like I'm saying something different now. So, 3 months of war, the strait is closed, oil isn't being sold. Well, it's being sold a little bit, but not freely. The ports are under blockade, the economy is suffocating. We know this for sure. There was a problem even before the armed clashes began, so to speak, and now it's just, as they say, a complete disaster. And the deal is like oxygen, of course. An open strait, oil sales, lifting the blockade. What will happen if Iran now steps in for Hezbollah? If they strike back at Lebanon? Him? And he will ruin his own deal. And without it, there, as they say, right? That is, with his own hands, he'll slam the door shut, the one through which he should be getting oxygen. Like, I'm suffocating, I need oxygen, but I'll slam this door shut and won't get any oxygen because Hezbollah is more important to me than I don't even know what. He'll lose the strait, oil, and Hezbollah. Plus, that's a bonus. And what if he doesn't intervene? What if he just swallows it, so to speak, gives up Lebanon for the sake of a deal? Well, it's a deal, but we still have to live, right? Then, right in front of the whole region, he abandons his main ally. That is, he loses face, which is completely unacceptable in that world. He loses Hezbollah as a tool. And he signs an agreement in which his position is already seriously undermined. And any move works out. A no-win situation. Left, right, both moves are losing. That's what it means to be cornered. Iran officially demands that the deal include a ceasefire in Lebanon. They demand it. But making demands while being in a fork is not strength. This is a big human request. Okay, here is the second bone, the second 6. Iran can't respond because any move it makes will hurt itself. Let's move on. Why is Trump delaying the signing? Well, he's delaying the signing. Well, it's obvious, right? He's delaying the signing. He could have signed it a long time ago. There are 2 levels. One is situational, and the other, is psychological. Because negotiations are always about psychology, I've taken part in quite a few negotiations at different levels, at low levels, at mid levels, several times at fairly high levels. Psychology is the most important. Well, actually, both are important. It depends on the situation. Everything I've already said. Every day of delay is another day that Israel advances in Lebanon. You understand, right? There are only 150 kilometers left. And we've already been down that road, personally, so to speak. My regiment covered the first 90 kilometers and stopped. There were still about 60 or 70 left to Tripoli, and that's it. Every day of delay is another day. Plus Israel and America minus Iran. The longer the Iran deal drags on, the more facts on the ground Israel manages to create. The delay works in favor of coordinated policy. Time is on the Allies' side. Remember when I said that Trump has 4 to 6 weeks? And that, so to speak, if he didn't have any leverage, he would be in a losing position. I said that, but fortunately he does have leverage. Right now, I'm talking about one of those levers. Simply because it slipped through there almost unnoticed. I mean, they howled and shouted about it from the left, but they didn't connect it to Trump in any way. There's also a psychological level. It's more subtle, and from my point of view, it's always more important. Trump is an absolute master of the negotiation pause. You know, I once worked as what you might call a comic or a comedian. I don't know, well, stand-up. That's what it's called, right? The most important thing is the sense of pause. Where to stop and how long to wait. If you start before you should, you'll ruin the laughter. If you wait too long, you'll get confusion, right? You just have to feel it somehow, and you can't teach that. It's like they say comedians can always be actors, but actors can't always be comedians. Trump never signs first. So the proposed option. He always steps back at the last moment and demands more. Why? Because someone who desperately wants a deal, like Iran from our perspective, becomes more willing to make concessions as they get closer to the finish line. They're just a bit more, almost there. Okay, fine, whatever, just give a little more. The main goal is to secure it. Keeping him waiting at the threshold is basic bargaining psychology. So, I've bargained with both the Japanese and the Chinese. I've bargained with Muslims and Jews as well. You can't say that some are better or worse than others. They're just different. The approaches are different, and you have to communicate with them differently. There are nations, or, well, in every nation, there are always some people who are different, right? But as a general principle, there are national characteristics, like when you know that after difficult, terrible, nightmarish negotiations, you thought it was all over, that nothing would ever work out, but finally it worked out, from that moment on. It's as if no one bargained, no one did anything. Everything that was agreed upon is carried out 100%. And then there are, and this is to my great regret, our Muslim brothers. They ignore what they signed, bargain everywhere, then change everything. That's why the more land you grab, the more you establish yourself, the more you get from the very beginning, things that can't be taken away from you later or simply stop being given to you, the stronger your position is. The closer the deal is and the longer they keep you in this state, the more you're willing to give up, just so you don't lose it completely. That's when you start signing things that are hard to escape, because that's just how negotiations work in the East. There's not much you can do about it. Strikes on drones at the moment when the deal is almost ready. This isn't a breakdown of negotiations. What are you talking about? It's just a polite reminder. Trump is sending Tehran a message without words. And I can strike at any moment, even now, even when we're almost agreed. So don't even think about making a move because of Lebanon. All of this is expressed with a smile, not words. And tightening the draft, the same thing, not a refusal of the deal. No, it's raising the stakes at a moment when it's almost impossible for the opponent to back out. And here's the third bone, the third 6. The delay itself is working. So far, it's working for Trump on the ground and in the minds of the opponent. The longer he drags it out, the more he wins. 3 bones. And all 3 are 6s. If you remember, that's on these dice. That's the most cherished. Subtitle 6 is the biggest number. Israel is winning on the ground. Iran can't respond. The delay is currently working in Trump's favor. No matter how you play this game, he comes out on top. The main thing is to fit within the time frame. This is what a coordinated policy of action looks like. It's not a conspiracy over commas. It's 2 hands working in the same rhythm. Trump is keeping Iran, as they say, at the table. And Israel is clearing the field, while Iran is tied up, and both hands know what the other is doing. Here we need to pause, to stop for a moment, to explain something, because otherwise it might seem like I'm contradicting myself. I've said more than once that the longer we delay with Iran, the stronger it gets, and time works against us. But now I'm saying that slowing down is good for Trump and for America. So where is the truth? The truth is, this conversation is about 2 different periods of time. There's a short window, another 2 or 3 weeks, but at most 4 to 6. That's already on the edge, just pushing the limit. Within this time window, time is on our side. Every day of pressure, every day before they have a chance to recover, rearm, or hide works in our favor, not theirs. We're in a better position than Iran. But as soon as that window closes, the cards go to them. They'll catch their breath, regroup, and then their strength will start to grow, and ours will fade. That's why the task is not to wait or to rush at all. The task is to finish them off in time. Finish them off to such an extent before the window closes that they can't breathe anymore and raise their hands and feet up. Until that point, time is our ally, and after that, it's theirs. And the whole difference between victory and a prolonged disaster fits into these few weeks. We'll push them to the point where they can't even catch their breath anymore. Or they'll manage to hold out. If you've watched this video up to this point, you are one of those who want to understand, not just react. And I have a direct offer for you. This channel has a private section, just $4 a month. There I go into these things in more depth, without worrying about the format, with all the connections and forecasts that don't always fit into the public videos. I don't really want to go on about it with anyone. If you value what you just heard, support the channel and join there. It's less than a cup of coffee? A cup of coffee. Well, yes, it's less than a can of beer. That's what I'm getting at in the end. We're used to looking at the news as separate flashes. Things flare up here and there. Iran is separate, Lebanon is separate, negotiations are separate. This fragmentation keeps us divided. Because scattered flashes are frightening and paralyzing. But when you see the whole picture, it sets you free. You start to understand, so that's how it is. So, when you see the overall logic, when you understand what role each person plays, and most importantly, why, you stop being a spectator who is led by the nose from headline to headline. And it's also very easy for you to spot fake news. You become someone who understands the whole game. Okay, maybe not all of it. Yes, of course. But at least some parts of it, its outlines, yes. And I have to tell you, this is what freedom is. Liberation from these lying heads. These parasites. Sorry. This story isn't over yet. The deal could be announced tomorrow, maybe in a week, maybe. It could still fall apart because the escalation of investment could really blow it up. That's the plan's weak spot, of course. I'll be following every twist and breaking it down here for you. But I promise you one thing, whatever happens, now you have the key. Now you're looking at these events, I hope, with different eyes. And you know what's the best thing about 3 6s? They were rolled by someone working toward a world without a major war, and a person who understands the game is always stronger than someone who is just afraid. Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, think along with me, and I'll see you in the next analysis.